I spent 3 years rebuilding my brother-in-law's failing auto shop for free. On the day we finally turned a profit, he fired me and handed my position to his drinking buddy. Said I didn't understand the business side. My wife just shrugged. "You're better at fixing things than running them," she said. I drove home that night with grease still under my fingernails and a folder full of contracts they'd forgotten I'd made them sign. Hey everyone, before we dive in, if you enjoy these real-life stories about family drama and justice, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications. Your support keeps these stories coming. I'm Jake, 38 years old, a mechanic from Fort Collins, Colorado. For 3 years, I poured my heart into rebuilding Thompson Auto Repair, a shop that didn't belong to me. I wish I could say the betrayal came out of nowhere, but honestly, the signs were always there. I just didn't want to see them. Not about my own wife. Not about her brother. Not about people I thought were family. Here's how it all went down. It started 3 years ago when my wife Sarah told me her brother Danny was about to lose his auto shop. The place had been hemorrhaging money for years. Danny spent more time at Murphy's Bar than under the hood of a car. But it was their dad's shop originally, built in the 80s, and Sarah couldn't stand the thought of it closing. "You could save it," she said one night over dinner. "You know cars better than anyone. Danny just needs help getting organized." I'd worked at Danny's place a few summers during college. Even then, it was chaotic. Parts everywhere, invoices stuffed in coffee cans, customers waiting weeks for simple repairs. But Sarah was passionate about it. Family legacy, she called it. A chance to honor their father's memory. "What's Danny say about this?" I asked. "He's desperate," she said. "He knows he needs help." So I went to talk to him. Found him at the shop at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday, beer in hand, staring at a pile of unpaid bills. The place looked like a tornado had hit it. "Sarah says you might want some help," I said. Danny looked up bleary-eyed. "Can't pay you much." "I'm not looking for much," I said. "Just want to see the family business survive." That's when he got that look, you know the one. Like Christmas morning. "You'd really do that? Help me get this place running right." I should have asked more questions. Should have nailed down exactly what help meant. But I was thinking about Sarah, about keeping the family together, about doing the right thing. "Yeah," I said. "I'll help." Danny grabbed my hand and shook it. "Partner," he said. "We're partners now." I laughed. "I don't know about partners." No, he said, suddenly serious. "Partners. 50-50. You fix the operations, I handle the customer relationships. We split everything down the middle once we're profitable." Now, I'm not stupid. I've been burned before. So I said, "If we're talking partnership, we need something on paper." Danny's face fell a little. "You don't trust me?" "It's not about trust," I said. "It's about being professional." 2 days later, I drafted a simple partnership agreement. Nothing fancy, just stating that after the business returned to profitability, we'd formalize a 50-50 partnership with shared ownership and profits. Danny signed it. So did Sarah as a witness. I even had my buddy Rick from the parts store witness it. They all thought I was overthinking it. "It's family," Sarah said. "Danny's not going to screw you over." But I kept that paper in my toolbox anyway. For 3 years, I worked 70-hour weeks at that shop. I reorganized the entire inventory system, set up a proper scheduling system, hired 2 reliable mechanics, implemented quality control checks. I even redesigned the customer waiting area and got the books in order. Mornings, I'd be there at 6 a.m., staying until 8 or 9 p.m. most nights. Weekends too. Sarah complained I was never home, but she also loved bragging to her friends about how I was saving the family business. Danny? He'd show up around noon, chat with customers, then disappear for business meetings that usually involved bourbon and pool tables. But hey, I figured he was handling the networking side. Building relationships. That's what he said anyway. Slowly, things turned around. Customer complaints dropped to almost zero. Word spread about our reliability. Revenue started climbing. By the end of year 2, we were actually making money. Real money. That's when Danny started talking about the future. "We should expand," he'd say. "Maybe open a second location. You've got the magic touch, Jake." I felt proud. Validated. Like all those long hours were paying off. 3 months ago, we had our best month ever. Profit margins were solid, customer satisfaction was through the roof, and we had a waiting list for appointments. I remember standing in the shop that Friday night, looking around at what we'd built together. "We did it," I told Sarah when I got home. "We actually did it." She smiled, but something was off about it. "Danny must be so grateful," she said. "We're both grateful," I said. "This is just the beginning." The next Monday, Danny called a staff meeting. Said he had some announcements. I figured he was going to talk about bonuses, maybe officially recognize the partnership we'd been building toward. Instead, he stood up and said, "I want you all to meet the new shop manager, Tommy Brennan." I looked around, confused. Tommy was this guy Danny knew from Murphy's, unemployed for 2 years, no mechanical experience, but they'd been drinking buddies since high school. "Tommy's going to be running day-to-day operations from now on," Danny continued. "Jake, you'll report to him." The room went dead silent. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. "What about our partnership?" I asked. Danny looked genuinely confused. "Partnership? Jake, you're a great mechanic, but you don't understand the business side. Tommy's got management experience." "Management experience at what?" "He ran a team at the warehouse before it closed." I laughed. I actually laughed. "Danny, we had a deal? We have a contract." "Contract?" He looked at Tommy, then back at me. "Jake, we never had any contract. You've been helping out and I appreciate it, but this is still my shop." That's when Sarah, who'd been sitting quietly in the corner, spoke up. "Jake, maybe it's time to step back. You're better at fixing things than running them anyway." The betrayal hit me like a sledgehammer. Not just Danny, that I could almost understand. But Sarah, my own wife, was backing him up. I didn't say another word. I just walked out. When I got home, I went straight to my toolbox and pulled out that partnership agreement. Their signatures clear as day. Sarah's witness signature right there next to Rick's. I called Rick first. "Remember the paper you signed at Danny's shop?" I asked. "The partnership thing?" "Yeah, what about it? You remember what it said?" "Sure. 50-50 split once the business was profitable." "Why?" "Danny's saying it never existed." Rick was quiet for a long moment. "That's messed up, man. I saw you both sign it." That night, I called my lawyer, Beth Chin. She's handled a few business disputes for me over the years. Nothing major. But she's sharp and doesn't sugarcoat things. "Bring me everything," she said. "Contracts, financial records, anything that shows your contribution to the business." I spent the next day gathering documents. The partnership agreement. Before and after financial statements showing the shop's turnaround. Photos of the improvements I'd made. Even time logs I'd kept in a notebook because I'm obsessive about that stuff. Beth reviewed everything. "This is solid," she said. "They're trying to steal your work, but you documented everything. We can file a partnership enforcement suit." "What are the chances?" "With this evidence? Very good. But Jake," she paused, "this is going to get ugly. Family disputes always do. They made it ugly when they decided to screw me over. 3 days later, Tommy fired me. Said my attitude wasn't a good fit for the team anymore. Danny was conveniently out of town. Another business trip to Vegas. Sarah didn't even seem surprised when I told her. "Maybe this is for the best," she said. "You can find something where you're appreciated." "I was appreciated," I said, "until they decided to steal what I built." "You're being dramatic." That's when I knew she'd been part of it all along. Beth filed the lawsuit the next week. Partnership enforcement, breach of contract, unjust enrichment. We asked for my rightful share of the business or fair compensation for my contribution. Danny's response came through his lawyer. Some guy who probably cost more per hour than I made in a day. They claimed the partnership agreement was just a misunderstanding, that I was an employee who'd overstepped, and that my volatile behavior made me unsuitable for management. They offered me $5,000 to walk away. Beth looked at me across her desk. "What do you want to do?" "I want what's mine." Discovery was brutal. They had to turn over financial records, communications, everything. That's when we found the emails. Danny had been planning to push me out for 6 months. He'd been talking to Tommy about taking over since before we even became profitable. Sarah knew about it. She was copied on half the emails. One email from Danny to Sarah. "Jake's done all the heavy lifting. Time to bring in someone I can actually work with." Sarah's response. "He won't fight it. He's too focused on the work to notice." There it was, in black and white. They'd used me to save the business, then planned to cut me out the moment it was worth something. The worst part? Sarah had been feeding them information about my plans, my ideas, even my concerns about the business. Every private conversation we'd had about the shop had been reported back to Danny. I confronted her that night. Showed her the emails. "So what now?" she said. "You're going to destroy everything over pride?" "This isn't about pride. This is about them stealing from me. This is a stupid auto shop, Jake. There are other jobs. It's not about the job. It's about you lying to me for months. She rolled her eyes. I didn't lie. I just didn't think you'd understand the bigger picture. That's when I realized our marriage was over too. The case went to mediation first. Danny, Sarah, and Tommy all showed up looking confident. Their lawyer had prepared them well. They offered $15,000 and a recommendation letter. No, I said. Jake, Sarah said, be reasonable. I am being reasonable. I want half the business or fair compensation for tripling its value. The mediator asked Danny to explain his position. Jake was a great employee, he said, but he never understood that I was the owner. This partnership thing was just encouragement, you know? Motivation. Beth pulled out the signed contract. Did you sign this document? Yes, but did you read it before signing? Well, yes, but I didn't think. You didn't think you'd have to honor it? Danny's lawyer jumped in, but the damage was done. The mediator recommended we proceed to trial. That's when things got nasty. Someone slashed my tires outside my apartment. Sarah drained our joint savings account. Danny started telling customers I'd been stealing from the shop. But the worst part? Tommy was running the place into the ground. Within 2 months, half the customers had left. The mechanics I'd hired quit. The shop was back to its old chaotic mess. Danny called me one night, drunk. Look what you've done, he said. The shop's dying because of your lawsuit. The shop's dying because Tommy doesn't know what he's doing. Come back, he said. We'll work something out. Honor the contract you signed. He hung up. The trial was scheduled for January. But in December, something interesting happened. Beth got a call from the bank that held the shop's business loan. Turns out Danny had defaulted on payments. The shop was facing foreclosure. They leveraged the business to pay for their legal fees, Beth explained. And probably Tommy's salary. We filed an emergency motion. The court ordered the business to be sold, with proceeds held in escrow until our case was resolved. The shop sold at auction. I didn't bid. I couldn't afford to buy back my own work. Some corporate chain bought it for less than half what it was worth. But when the dust settled, the court awarded me 40% of the sale proceeds. After legal fees and Danny's debts, that came to about $85,000. Not the partnership I'd earned, but enough to start over. Danny and Sarah? They ended up with almost nothing. The legal fees ate most of their share, and Danny still owed money to suppliers. Sarah filed for divorce. Said I'd become vindictive and obsessed with money. I didn't contest it. By then, I'd realized I'd been married to a stranger. Tommy? He tried to get a job at the corporate chain that bought the shop. They turned him down after checking his references. Apparently, running a profitable business into the ground in 2 months isn't great management experience. As for me, I took that $85,000 and opened my own shop. Smaller place, but it's mine. I work alone now mostly. Do quality work, treat customers right, and keep detailed records of everything. I don't trust partners anymore. But I sleep well at night knowing I earned every dollar I make. 6 months after everything was settled, I got a letter from Sarah. No return address, but I recognized the handwriting. You destroyed our family over money, it said. I hope you're happy. I threw it away without finishing it. But yeah, I am happy. For the first time in years. They thought I was just the guy who fixed their problems. But I kept the records. I honored my word. And in the end, I kept what I earned. Sometimes the best revenge is just refusing to be cheated. So what do you think? Have you ever been betrayed by family or someone you trusted in business? Share your stories in the comments below. I read everyone. And if you enjoyed this story, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Your support means everything. Until next time, remember, always get it in writing.